Hey everybody, I'm Stuart, and I'm so glad you're here as we continue to talk about all things relationships and sex. Did he just say sex? Yes, you heard me right. We're talking about dating, relationships, sex, and the complicated stuff that comes with it. Things like the red flags we want to notice and avoid, the respect we want to give and receive from others, and the relationships we want to have with people who care about and support us. Why? Because we believe church is one of the best places to have conversations like this. It's a safe space filled with people who care about you, support you, and want to help you navigate relationships and sex in a way that honors God, others, and yourself. Today, I want to start by telling you a quick story. Long before the days of video games, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, when dinosaurs still roamed the land, the game to have if you were a kid was NFL Electric Football. Basically, NFL Electric Football was a thin metal sheet painted like a football field. You plugged the metal sheet in, and the electricity made the field vibrate. Yes, right, archaic. And once upon a time, telephones also had cords. On this electric field, you had a team, 11 small plastic football players, distinguished as blockers or runners by their arms. The blockers had arms like this, runners' arms like this, and the base of each plastic player had what could best be described as 8 tiny toothbrush bristles underneath them. The vibration of the field would connect with those bristles, and that would cause your players to move. And if you were lucky, you would discover one runner whose bristles were positioned in such a way that they would vibrate straight and fast. And when I was in elementary school, I discovered one such runner. This dude could fly. I so valued that one player that I used a marker to write my favorite jersey number on the player and my initials underneath the plastic football player. And I would hide him in my room after playing a game of electric football so that my brother wouldn't steal him from me, because if he stole him, he would win. I even hit another player who was not fast so that my brother would find that player thinking he had found the best runner, and that player was slow. I dominated NFL Electric Football for 2 years because of that one plastic player. Now, let's be real. It would be way weird, completely weird, at my age, if I still had that plastic football player hidden somewhere. What was so valuable to me as a kid doesn't and shouldn't hold as much value to me now. Think of something that mattered a lot to you when you were in elementary school. You know what's interesting? Those things had a ton of value when you were younger, but as you've grown up, that's probably changed. One day, it was your most prized possession, and the next, it wasn't. And just like that, you didn't care about it as much. It stopped adding value to your life. I think that's because we usually determine something is valuable based on what it can give us in return. I'm gonna show you some items, and I want you to think about if this item has a ton of value to you. Ready? Here we go. A smartphone, lighter fluid, googly eyes or crazy eyes, basketball, peanut brittle, Minecraft, the puzzle, a longboard, taxes and W-9 forms, a CD player, a really cool book bag, 50 bucks. I'm sure some of these things are valuable or relevant to you right now. They're things that benefit you in some way, but the things you see that you don't value, those things really don't do much for you. They aren't adding much to your life right now, are they? Sometimes, without realizing it, we treat the people in our lives the same way. When they can do something for us or give something back to us, we consider them valuable or important. But when they don't, well, that's when we begin to treat them like they've lost their importance. Now, I know we might not all be doing this, or maybe some of us are without even realizing it. Still, it's important to talk about because it's a big deal, especially when it comes to things like dating and sex. Because the way we treat the people we're interested in or spending time with really matters. And here's the thing. It's perfectly okay when someone stands out to you or catches your attention or you find them attractive. But let's be honest, Is there a line that you can cross that becomes disrespectful and dishonoring to another person? We might be tempted to talk about the people we're attracted to in ways that aren't valuing to them. We may say things about their bodies and personalities that aren't all that respectful, both to their faces and behind their backs. We might even choose to keep thinking about them in ways that don't value them. Those are the kinds of thoughts we wouldn't want them, or let's be honest, anyone to know about. These thoughts might be red flags, signals to you to check in and ask yourself, is this thought valuing the other person? Or maybe you've taken it a step further and you've asked someone to send pictures or participate in behavior that you know doesn't show them value. Or you might treat the person you're attracted to in a way that makes you feel good, even if you know it might not make them feel good. You flirt with them, you tease them, you talk to them in a way that doesn't benefit anybody but you. In all those situations, we're not thinking about how it makes the other person feel. We're just thinking about ourselves. No matter how it happens, the truth is this: when we don't treat others like they have value, we wind up treating them like objects instead of people. Objects that might have meant a lot to us when we first caught feelings or started talking. Objects that now just don't seem to have the same value when they're not giving us what we want. And even saying that feels icky. Deep down, all of us want to be valued. We want respect in relationship, and not getting it feels like a red flag. Well, if this is what we want for ourselves, shouldn't it also be what we want for others? Shouldn't we treat others with value? I think it's important to stop here and remind you of this. God made each of us, and because of that, we are all valuable. That fact should be the starting place for how we treat other people and ourselves. But we shouldn't stop there. Believing we all deserve value because of God is one thing. Actually treating other people like that's true is a completely different thing. Thankfully, Jesus gave us a clear picture of how to treat people like they have value, and it's what we're going to look at today. About 2,000 years ago, Jesus was having a conversation with some really smart people. These were religious leaders and lawyers who really could not stand Jesus. These guys thought they were in charge of the ancient Jewish people. The people were supposed to listen to them, follow their rules, and obey God's law the way they did. But then Jesus comes along and starts teaching something different. Jesus obeyed all of God's laws, but he did so in a way that was full of love. And those religious leaders, they didn't like it. In fact, they would often confront Jesus and try to get him to say something they knew would go against God just to prove he wasn't worth trusting. In the encounter we're going to look at today, a group of religious leaders had approached Jesus to debate, question, and try to catch him saying the wrong thing. And finally, one of them spoke up and basically said, "Okay, Jesus, what's the most important commandment that God has for all of us?" And to answer, Jesus said something they didn't expect. He said, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength." That's the part they expected. But then he said, the second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these. Jesus gave such an incredible answer here. What actually matters most to God, to love God with all that we are, and to treat other people the way we want to be treated. When Jesus used the word neighbor, he wasn't just talking about our literal next door neighbor. He was actually referring to every other person around us. See, God cares about how we value others and ourselves. So if we want to follow God's greatest command, we have to start with value for everyone, including ourselves. This is a big deal for all of our relationships, but it's especially important when it comes to dating and sex. If we want to avoid becoming a walking red flag, we have to check the way we think about and treat other people. We have to value them as people and not as objects. You handle an object or a thing, but you love and value and respect a person. We have to show others respect. And that starts with practicing sexual integrity, which is choosing to respond to sexual things we feel, think, and desire in a way that respects ourselves, others, and God. In addition to respecting others, it's important that we choose to love and respect ourselves. We have to start treating ourselves like we have the value God says we do. And we have to expect others to treat us with the respect we deserve, because God cares about how we value ourselves and how we value others. So what does this look like once we're back at school or joking with our friends or scrolling on social media or alone with our crush? When we're tempted to make jokes or participate in behaviors or treat someone else a certain way just to get what we want in return? What can we do to treat ourselves and others with value and respect? Here are 3 questions I think you can ask. First, the red flags. Do you believe that we all have value to God, others, and ourselves? Before we can treat others like they have value, we have to first believe that we deserve to be treated well ourselves. If you don't respect yourself and your own body, it's going to be really, really hard to value others or to know what it means to be valued by someone else. Here's a great test. What do you think about yourself when you look in the mirror? Are your words, your actions, or your thoughts showing you any red flags about the way you value yourself? Then think about the same when it comes to others. Are your words, behaviors, and thoughts a red flag for how you see the person you're attracted to? Then, respect. What would it look like to treat yourself and others in a way that honors God? Consider what it might look like to make a change, both in the way you respect yourself and the way you respect others. Maybe you ask someone to stop talking to you the way they do, or you block those people on social media who ask for pictures you don't want to send. Or you end a relationship that isn't respecting your boundaries. That's not being rude or unkind. It's respecting yourself. And then you can do the same for someone else. Maybe you stop making jokes about their bodies, or leading someone on by flirting for attention, or pressuring someone to do something they aren't ready or willing to do. Whatever it might be for you, find ways to treat other people in ways that honor God every day. And lastly, relationships. Who can you talk to for help? Maybe some of you aren't sure what it looks like to value yourself or someone else. Find a trusted adult to help you navigate what that means for you. For others of you, you might be struggling. You may feel like you don't have value because of the way someone else has treated you. You've had boundaries crossed and things happen that you didn't ask for or approve of. And because of that, you're really struggling to see how anyone could value you, including yourself. If that's you, please know this: you have value. What happened to you or the choices you've made, don't take that away. My prayer today would be that you take the brave step to talk to an adult that you trust. This could be a parent, a family member, a coach, a teacher, or even a counselor. Your small group leader would also be a great person to start a conversation with about this very thing. They love you, they value you, and they want you to find the help you deserve. Remember, God cares about how we value ourselves and how we value others. When we learn to love, value, and respect ourselves, we'll be able to do the same for others. Your group is a great place to start practicing this. When you go to groups, I want you to think about the way you can value the other people in your group by listening to them, encouraging them, and keeping your circle a safe space for everyone to share and grow when it comes to things like valuing others.